Hi everyone, today we're going to be crocheting this little pumpkin. The supplies that we're going to need for this are orange yarn, green yarn, a hook, needle, and some stuffing. We are going to use our orange yarn to start, and we're going to begin by making a slip stitch. So to do that, we yarn over our finger 2 times, grab the back loop and pull it into the front, grab the back loop, pull it over our finger, and then tighten around our hook. Now we want to chain 21. Alright, now that we have made the 21 chains, we are going to want to put a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So we have the hook, and then we have the first, and then the second chain. We're going to insert our hook and make a single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in each chain all the way across. We are coming to the end, and we're going to put a single crochet into that last chain. And then we are going to chain 1 for our turning chain and turn our work. This is where our repeat is going to begin. We are going to repeat the next 4 rows 15 times. So we are going to do a row of front post single crochets followed by 3 rows of regular single crochets. A row of front post single crochets is always going to start when we have the wrong side facing. To start our row of front post single crochets, we are going to put our hook into the space between the first 2 posts. Then go around the back and bring our hook back up into the front. Grab our yarn, pull it through, grab our yarn again, and pull it through both loops. Then again, we are going to the next space, go around the back, bring our hook back up, grab our yarn, pull it through, grab our yarn, pull it through both loops. And then into the next space, we're going to go around the back and back up through, grab yarn, pull it through, grab yarn again, pull it through both loops. We are going to do this in each stitch until we reach the end. We are coming up to the end. So what we want to do is we're going to go around this last post, go behind, grab our yarn, pull it through, grab our yarn again, pull it through both, and then we are going to make one last regular single crochet into this last space here. Now we are going to chain 1 for our turning chain and turn back to the right side. And now we have this ridge right here. So now what we want to do is do 3 rows of single crochets. We are going to start in this first space here with our first single crochet. Each row is going to have a turning chain of 1, and there's going to be 20 stitches in each row. Now we're coming up to the last single crochet for this row. So we make it in that last stitch, and chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to start with our first single crochet into this first space and keep working single crochets all the way across. We are approaching the end. We're going to do one last single crochet, chain 1 and turn. And with the right side facing, we're going to do our third row of single crochets. Now we're coming to the end. So we're going to do our last single crochet, chain one, and turn. So we have the wrong side facing again. Some important things to remember are that the turning chain is always going to be one. The first row of our repeat, the front post single crochets, are always going to be done with the wrong side facing. And then in this last space right here, there's going to be just the regular single crochet. Now we're going to start our row. We're going to go into this first space here between the two posts, go behind and bring our hook back up, grab our yarn, pull it through, grab our yarn, pull it through both loops. And then in the next space, we go behind the post, bring our hook back up, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn again, pull it through both loops. And we're going to do this all the way across until we get to that last single crochet. Now we're at the end and we're going to do that last single crochet right here. And then we are going to chain one and turn. Now we're going to do our 3 rows of regular single crochets. And we're going to want to repeat this pattern of a row of front post single crochets followed by 3 rows of regular single crochets for a total of 15 times. There's always going to be 20 stitches in each row, and at the end you'll be able to see 15 ridges. And I'll come back to you once I have that completed. Now I have finished this first part, and this is the section that I have. You should see 15 ridges. Now we're going to want to attach our 2 ends. So fold it over, and then insert your hook. And then we want to make sure that our stitches line up. It might be easier to grab a stitch marker for this and just insert it into the bottom 2 stitches. So that way they stay lined up as we attach the 2 sides. And with the marker there, we just want to double check again to make sure all of the stitches are lined up so it stays even as we work. And now we're going to start by making our first slip stitch. So we want to go into this top stitch here and then into the top stitch of the other side. Grab the yarn, pull it through and pull it through the loop on the hook also. And then go into the next stitch on both sides, grab the yarn and pull it through into the next stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through. And we're going to want to do this all the way down to the bottom, making sure that our stitches line up. Now we're coming to the end of our row of slip stitches. So we take out the marker and go down to the end. I'm going to do one last in this final stitch. And then I am going to chain one, cut my yarn, and pull that through. Now we have this nice little circle of ridges. And what we're going to want to do is sew the top and the bottom. So we're going to tuck in the ends. Then we want to take our needle and our orange yarn We're going to thread the needle. Now that we have our needle threaded, we are going to pull a little extra yarn and then trim that. I'm going to start sewing the top and bottom of the pumpkin. So we're going to want to find a spot to go start working in. I'm going to start working from the inside so that way we can tie our yarn. And I'm just going to make a slip knot here. Tighten that. And then we're just going to start working into the different stitches all the way around. And we're coming to the end of the circle. So we just want to finish stitching these last couple spaces. And then we're going to start pulling our yarn a little bit tighter. So just kind of slide it and pull it tighter until you have just a small circle left. And we're just going to keep tightening it. Let's see. I'm tighten it just a little bit more. And then we want to start sewing across the hole to bring it in a little bit tighter. So we're just going to go from the inside and then go to the opposite side and back across. There isn't really a specific order in which you have to sew this together. Just try to bring it in as much as you can. Let's just kind of look and see where we're at. Flatten it out a little bit. See how much space is left. Check the inside. And I think I want to do one more. Then we just want to pull our yarn through. And we're going to take our needle and shove it up through the center. And then we're going to start sewing around the edges of the top part. The same way that you did the other side, just going to go all the way around and leave it a little bit loose and try to leave some slack on the yarn coming up through the center. And now we're coming to the end of that, and we want to keep it open so that way we can put our stuffing in. So just grab some, and you can put however much you'd like in there. I like it to be a little bit squishy so that way I can kind of change his shape a little bit. And then once we have the stuffing in there, you can just tighten the yarn around it. Keep going. And you kind of want to pinch the side a little bit too, just to make sure that you're not pulling that center string too much. Just keep it tight. And then we're going to start sewing just like we did before. And tighten it a little bit more first. Okay. All right, now we have that almost completed. So we just want to kind of check and see how the pumpkin is doing, see if there's enough stuffing in them. And then we're going to do one more, but also make a knot with this one too. Then we're going to tie it again. And just another knot to make sure it's extra secure. And there we go. So we have the body of the pumpkin, and now we're going to start making the creases. So we're going to take that yarn and we're going to pull it down the center between two of the ridges. Then we're going to take our needle, shove it up the center, and bring it up the center of the top. And then we're going to do it again in the center of the next two ridges. And you'll see a natural crease kind of where the middle is, where you need to put the yarn. So pull that down, stick your needle through again, and then back up the top. And then you want it to be tight, but you don't want it to be too tight. So you want it to like give it a little bit of a crease, but nothing more than that. You still want to be able to squish the pumpkin around a little bit. And then you can kind of adjust them as you need to and just keep going all the way around the pumpkin just like that. All right, now that we've made it all the way around, we're going to do our one last crease, and then we're going to tie our yarn on the top. And then once there's a good knot in place, we can clip our yarn. And then there is the body of our pumpkin. And squish it around, kind of make it into the shape that you want to. And we can tuck in the loose yarn. Now we're ready to start the bottom of our pumpkin. So we're going to take our green yarn and we're going to make a magic circle. And to do that, we are going to take our green yarn. I'm going to take the tail of the yarn and pinch it between our thumb and our pointer finger, just like this, and bring it down and over 3 fingers. Bring it around and then up, making an X shape. Now you're going to take your hook and go under the bottom, grab the top, twist it, grab the top again, and pull it through. And that is your magic ring. So from there, what we're going to do is chain 1, and then we're going to do 6 single crochets into the ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to grab the tail of our circle and pull that through, tightening it. And we are going to slip stitch into our first stitch here. So you want to insert your hook, grab the yarn, pull it through. My stitch is a little tight. There we go, and then pull it through. Then we're going to chain 1. Now we're going to put 2 single crochets into each stitch. So here is the first single crochet, and then the second, and then I'm going to go back and mark that first single crochet. Now we're going to continue around the circle, doing 2 single crochets into each stitch. Now we're coming up to the end of this round, so we're going to put our 2 single crochets into this last stitch. Then we're going to take out our marker and connect to our first stitch with a slip stitch. grab a yarn and pull it through both. And then we're ready to chain one. And now in that first stitch, we're going to make 2 single crochets. And then we're going to put our marker in that first. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. The following, we're going to put in 2 single crochets. And in the next, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we follow that pattern of alternating between 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around. Now we're coming to the end of this row. So we're going to take out our marker and join with a slip stitch. And then chain 1. But I think this is all the bigger that we're going to need. So I am going to trim the yarn. And then we're going to pull it through it to knot it. There we go. And then we're going to take these 2 strings and just tie them together. So that way they're not in the way. And then we can just trim the ends too. And that is the bottom of our pumpkin. So we can put it on this side or this side. Either way, whichever your preference is. Tug the strings in there. Swish them around a little bit. And there we go. Now we're ready to start the top of our pumpkin. So we're going to take our green yarn again. We're going to make another magic circle. So pinch the tail and then yarn over 3 fingers. Come back over to make an X. Go under the bottom and grab the top. Pull it down, twist, grab the top again, and pull it through. So we are going to chain 1, and then we're going to make 6 single crochets again. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now we're going to pull the tail of the magic circle to tighten it. And we're going to put a single crochet into each stitch, going continuously around until we get to the size that we would like for our stem. So we do a single crochet into this first one, and then into the next one, and then keep going. And it'll start to take shape after about 2-3 rounds. Once you have gotten to your desired stem length, you can start to put 2 single crochets into each stitch. So we're going to do 1 and 2, and then I want to mark that first single crochet. And then we're going to continue around, putting 2 single crochets into each stitch. Now I'm almost back to the marker, so I'm going to take that out. And I'm going to put 2 single crochets into that stitch. So 1, 2, and now I'm going to mark that first single crochet again. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then in the following, I'm going to do 2. and then continue around with that pattern of one single crochet and then two single crochets all the way around till we get to the marker again. Now we're coming back to that marker again. So we're going to join to that first stitch with a slip stitch. There we go. And it looks like it's about the right size. So I am going to trim the yarn and pull it through. And then we just have that little string there. And I think I'm just going to weave in. So we're going to go into a spot, pull it through, and then just kind of tuck it into the top there. And there is the top of our pumpkin. And now it's time to sew the top and bottom of the pumpkin onto the body. So we're going to take some green yarn and then find the needle. All right. There we go. So I'm going to start with the bottom of the pumpkin. We're going to go in through the back side of that. And then we're just going to tie the end of the green yarn. So I'm going to make a slip stitch here. And then we tighten that. And then we're going to bring the yarn back to the right side of the bottom of the pumpkin. And now we're going to start to sew the bottom of the pumpkin on. So we're going to want to put the needle in right below the V part of the outer row of stitches. And then we're going to keep working around the bottom that way. You want to try to get into each stitch. It's going to be a little difficult for some of them. So you can always just skip it and then come back to it if need be. But you just want to make sure that there isn't going to be a space in between the green part and the orange part. There we go. So now we're going to want to check it to see if there's any gapping, which there is a little bit right there. So I'm going to put in another stitch. And then check it again. There's still a little bit of space there. So I'm going to do one more stitch. All right, and that's the bottom of the pumpkin. Now we're going to take our needle and poke it all the way through. And you want to leave the yarn a little bit loose in the middle of the pumpkin. And then we're going to start the top. So put your yarn through the bottom. And we're going to sew it onto the top in the same way that we did the bottom. So you want to work underneath the top of the stitch and try to get into each stitch going all the way around. There we go. Now we're coming to the end, so we kind of want to check it over. We have a little gap right there, so we're going to keep going. Put in a stitch here. And then put in another stitch. And then we're going to do one more stitch right here. And we're going to make a knot with this here by pulling it through the rest of the yarn. And then we're going to insert our needle all the way through, and it can come up anywhere in the pumpkin. And we're going to want to pull this tight and kind of squish the pumpkin down a little bit and clip the yarn close to the pumpkin so that way the tail is in the center of the pumpkin. And squish them back. And that is our pumpkin. So you can kind of squish them around, check the bottom, just the stem. You can squish him up so he gets a little bit taller, or mush him down so he's a little bit shorter. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you had fun and feel inspired to keep creating. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your work in the comments. I'd love to see what you've been making.